Chicken Little. Chicken Little, from the 2005 film of the same name. The protagonist is a neurotic, panicky young rooster whose paranoia causes widespread chaos in his town of Okie Oaks. After mistaking a falling hexagonal object for a piece of the sky, he triggers mass hysteria, becomes a social outcast, and spends the film desperately trying to redeem himself. The problem is that Chicken Little is genuinely insufferable. His voice, performed by Zach Braff, is whiny and grating. His constant need for validation from his father, Buck Cluck, borders on pathetic rather than sympathetic. He makes terrible decisions throughout the film, often making situations worse through his own incompetence. Unlike other underdog Disney protagonists who face adversity with charm or wit, Chicken Little simply flails through scene after scene. Audiences wanted to root for him, but found themselves annoyed instead. The character represents one of Disney's biggest missteps in protagonist design, creating someone meant to be lovable, but landing squarely in irritating territory. Critics and audiences alike noted that spending 80 minutes with this character felt exhausting rather than entertaining. Dory's parents. Jenny and Charlie, Dory's parents from Finding Dory, released in 2016. These characters appear primarily in flashback sequences showing how young Dory's short-term memory loss caused her to become separated from her family. The issue fans have with Jenny and Charlie centers on their parenting decisions. They taught Dory to just keep swimming, but seemingly failed to implement any practical safety measures for a child with severe cognitive disabilities. They lived near an undertow current that pulled Dory away, yet apparently never moved to a safer location. After losing Dory, they stayed in the same spot for years, leaving shell trails, hoping she'd find her way back. While the film presents this as touching devotion, many viewers found it impractical and frustrating. The parents had minimal personality beyond being worried and sad. They served more as plot devices than fully realized characters. Their limited screen time meant audiences never connected with them emotionally, making their reunion with Dory feel unearned. For a film that ran nearly 2 hours, Jenny and Charlie felt underdeveloped and their parenting choices questionable at best. The Gargoyles, Hugo, Victor, and Laverne from The Hunchback of Notre Dame, released in 1996. These three-stone gargoyles serve as Quasimodo's only companions in the bell tower of Notre Dame, providing comic relief throughout the film. The problem is that The Hunchback of Notre Dame is Disney's darkest animated feature, dealing with themes of religious persecution, lust, genocide, and abuse. Into this mature narrative, Disney inserted 3 wisecracking gargoyles who sing show tunes, make contemporary jokes, and break the film's carefully constructed medieval atmosphere. During Esmeralda's near execution, while Frollo sings about his sexual obsession in Hellfire, and throughout moments of genuine darkness, the gargoyles provide jarring tonal whiplash. They apparently exist only in Quasimodo's imagination, raising questions about his mental state that the film never addresses. Hugo makes crude jokes, Victor acts pretentious, and Laverne provides motherly sass, but none of it fits the film's serious tone. The gargoyles appear most prominently during the climactic battle sequence, transforming a tense confrontation into a slapstick comedy routine. Fans and critics have consistently cited the gargoyles as the film's biggest flaw, representing Disney's lack of confidence in their own mature material. The film would have been significantly stronger without them. Mater, Tow Mater, Lightning McQueen's best friend from the Cars franchise, beginning in 2006. Mater is a rusty tow truck from Radiator Springs with a thick southern accent, childlike enthusiasm, and a habit of telling tall tales. In the first Cars film, Mater worked in small doses as comic relief and a symbol of small-town authenticity. However, Cars 2, released in 2011, made Mater the main character, and the decision proved divisive. The sequel follows Mater as he's mistaken for a spy and becomes involved in international espionage. His ignorance and bumbling behavior drive the entire plot, with Lightning McQueen reduced to a supporting character in his own franchise. Many fans found Mater's exaggerated stupidity exhausting over a nearly 2-hour runtime. His catchphrase, "Dad gum," and constant misunderstandings of basic social situations wore thin quickly. Larry the Cable Guy's vocal performance, perfect for small doses, became grating when Mater dominated screen time. The character represents a specific type of rural American stereotype that some viewers found charming and others found offensively simplistic. Mater's character works as a side dish, but fails as the main course. Pixar essentially admitted this by significantly reducing his role in Cars 3. The backlash against Mater became so significant that he's often cited as an example of how giving comic relief characters too much focus can backfire spectacularly. Prince Charming from Cinderella, released in 1950. He's one of Disney's earliest princes, and also one of the least developed characters in the Disney canon. Prince Charming has approximately 5 minutes of screen time and speaks fewer than 10 lines of dialogue. His personality can be summarized as wants to get married. He falls in love with Cinderella after a single evening of dancing, never learning her name or anything about her beyond her appearance. The prince's lack of agency is striking. His father, the king, organizes the ball specifically to find him a wife, suggesting the prince has no say in his own marriage. When Cinderella flees at midnight, the prince's most notable action is looking mildly disappointed. He doesn't personally search for her, instead sending the Grand Duke to try the glass slipper on every woman in the kingdom. This plan is both inefficient and suggests he couldn't recognize Cinderella's face. Prince Charming represents outdated fairy tale romance where the male character exists only as a reward for the female protagonist's virtue. Modern audiences find him bland at best and problematic at worst. He has no interests, no personality traits, no character arc, and no memorable moments. Cinderella deserved better than a cardboard cutout in fancy clothes. Later Disney princes like Beast, Aladdin, and Flynn Rider have actual personalities and character development, highlighting just how inadequate Prince Charming truly is. Abby Mallard, also known as the Ugly Duckling, from Chicken Little, released in 2005. Abby is Chicken Little's best friend and eventual love interest, characterized by her buck teeth, asymmetrical face, and relentlessly positive attitude. The problem with Abby is that she has no personality beyond supporting Chicken Little. Every scene featuring Abby involves her either encouraging Chicken Little, defending Chicken Little, or talking about Chicken Little. She offers constant reassurance that borders on enablement, never challenging him or suggesting he might actually be at fault. Abby's own character arc is non-existent. The film hints at her being self-conscious about her appearance, but this is never developed or resolved. Her romantic feelings for Chicken Little come from nowhere and feel unearned since he barely acknowledges her existence until the final act. Abby represents the girl best friend who exists to support the male protagonist trope at its worst. She's intelligent enough to recognize problems, but never assertive enough to do anything about them. The character had potential to be interesting, but instead became a one-dimensional cheerleader. Audiences found her frustrating because she deserved better than to orbit around Chicken Little's chaos without having her own story or personality. By the way, if you're liking what you're seeing, I make videos like this all the time. I'd really appreciate if you subscribed. Denahi from Brother Bear, released in 2003. Denahi is the middle brother of Kenai, the film's protagonist, and serves as the primary antagonist for most of the movie. After Kenai is transformed into a bear by the spirits, Denahi believes his youngest brother was killed by the bear he's now hunting. Denahi spends the film relentlessly pursuing Kenai as a bear, determined to avenge what he believes is his brother's death. The problem is that Denahi's grief-driven vendetta becomes monotonous and frustrating. He's positioned as an antagonist despite having understandable motivations, making every encounter with him feel tragic rather than tense. Denahi speaks very little after the first act, reduced to a silent, obsessive hunter. His character arc lacks nuance. He doesn't question his mission, doesn't show signs of doubt, and doesn't have meaningful interactions with other characters. The film wants audiences to sympathize with both Kenai and Denahi, but this dual sympathy never quite works. Denahi feels like an obstacle rather than a character, existing solely to create external conflict, while Kenai deals with internal growth. When the truth is revealed at the film's end, Denahi's reaction is disappointingly brief and underdeveloped. For someone who spent the entire movie hunting his transformed brother, his resolution feels rushed and emotionally hollow. Aristocats kittens, Marie, Toulouse, and Berlioz from the Aristocats, released in 1970. These three kittens are the children of Duchess, the film's protagonist, and they spend most of the movie being rescued by Thomas O'Malley after their owner's butler attempts to eliminate them. The kittens function primarily as cute obstacles that create problems for the adult cats to solve. Marie, the white kitten with a pink bow, is particularly insufferable. She's vain, bratty, and constantly starting arguments with her brothers. Her signature line, "Ladies do not start fights, but they can finish them," precedes her getting into fights she absolutely started. Marie complains constantly, criticizes everyone around her, and contributes nothing useful to the group's survival. Toulouse, the orange kitten, wants to be a tough alley cat but is cowardly and useless in actual danger. Berlioz, the gray kitten, plays piano and exists primarily to make musical references. The three kittens slow down every scene they're in. When Edgar the butler attempts to eliminate them, it's hard not to understand his frustration, even if his methods are extreme. The kittens overshadow Duchess, who could have been an interesting character, but instead spends all her time managing her children's chaos. The film would have been significantly improved if the kittens had been written with actual personalities beyond cute and annoying. They represent Disney's tendency to insert marketable child characters into stories where they serve no narrative purpose. Prince John from Robin Hood, released in 1973. Disney's version of the classic villain is a cowardly, thumb-sucking, tantrum-throwing lion who rules England while his brother King Richard is away on crusade. Prince John is pathetic by design, meant to be a weak villain that Robin Hood can easily outwit. However, this design choice makes him irritating rather than threatening or entertaining. Prince John whines constantly, particularly to his long-suffering advisor, Sir Hiss. He sucks his thumb when upset, literally reverting to infantile behavior during moments of stress. His voice, performed by Peter Ustinov, is a shrill, petulant whine that grates after extended exposure. Prince John's villainy is small-minded and petty rather than grand evil schemes. He overtaxes the poor because his feelings were hurt. His motivation isn't power or wealth, but validation from his absent brother and a desperate need to prove himself. This could be interesting if explored with depth, but instead it's played for comedy that doesn't land. The character works in small doses, but he dominates significant screen time. His repeated tantrums where he destroys his own throne room become repetitive rather than funny. Prince John represents failed comedic villainy, neither threatening enough to be a good antagonist, nor funny enough to justify his prominence. He's simply an annoying obstacle who overstays his welcome. Flik from A Bug's Life, released in 1998. Flik is an ant inventor whose well-intentioned incompetence drives the entire plot. He accidentally destroys his colony's food offering to the grasshoppers, putting everyone in danger. His solution is to recruit warrior bugs to defend the colony, but he accidentally hires circus performers instead. Flik's bumbling continues throughout the film, as every plan he creates either fails or succeeds only through luck rather than competence. The character is meant to be an underdog audiences root for, but many find him frustrating instead. Unlike other Pixar protagonists who grow through competence like Woody, Lightning McQueen, or Remy, Flik remains incompetent throughout and simply gets lucky. His inventions malfunction more often than they work. His harvesting machine, meant to improve efficiency, destroys the food offering and creates the central conflict. The bird that saves the day in the climax wasn't part of Flik's plan, but rather a happy accident. Flik's voice, performed by Dave Foley, is nasally and grating during his many panic moments. The character talks constantly, over-explaining his thoughts and ideas without pause. Compared to the strong, capable Princess Ada or the genuinely heroic circus bugs, Flik feels like dead weight. The film positions him as the hero, but he's primarily the problem creator that others must solve around. A Bug's Life would have been stronger with a more competent, or at least more likable protagonist. Merida's brothers, the triplets Harris, Hubert, and Hamish from Brave, released in 2012. These three identical young boys are Merida's younger brothers, characterized entirely by their love of sweets and propensity for mischief. The triplets have no individual personalities, functioning as a single unit of chaos. They steal food, play pranks, and cause background destruction in nearly every scene they appear in. Their antics are meant to be cute and funny, but instead feel like padding in an already unfocused film. The triplets' prominence increases dramatically when they're accidentally transformed into bear cubs by the same magic affecting Merida's mother. As bear cubs, they continue stealing food and causing mischief, now with added slapstick animal humor. The transformation adds nothing to the film's themes about mother-daughter relationships and familial expectations. The triplets' bear hijinks distract from the emotional core of Merida and Eleanor's reconciliation. Multiple extended sequences feature the bear cubs getting into trouble, escaping from guards, and generally filling screen time without advancing the plot or developing any characters. The film's climax involves Merida saving her mother and brothers from becoming permanent bears, but the audience investment in saving the triplets is minimal since they barely qualify as characters. They're more like animated props that make noise and create visual gags. Brave already struggled with tonal and narrative consistency, and the triplets' excessive presence exacerbated these problems significantly. Chef Skinner. Chef Skinner from Ratatouille, released in 2007. Skinner is the diminutive head chef of Gusteau's restaurant who becomes the primary antagonist when Linguini arrives and threatens his control. Skinner is mean-spirited, vindictive, and obsessed with maintaining power over the restaurant. His plan to launch a line of frozen foods using Gusteau's name shows he cares more about profit than culinary integrity. As an antagonist, Skinner works thematically, representing the commercialization of art and the ego-driven nature of professional kitchens. However, his constant presence and shrill anger make him exhausting rather than entertainingly villainous. Skinner's voice, performed by Ian Holm, is a high-pitched, heavily accented whine. He shrieks at employees, scheming constantly in ways that feel petty rather than threatening. Skinner's attempts to sabotage Linguini lack creativity, mostly involving yelling and workplace harassment. His eventual discovery of Remy's existence leads to a chase sequence through Paris that drags on too long and disrupts the film's pacing. The character's physicality, being extremely short and requiring a step stool to reach counters, is played for comedy repeatedly, but the joke wears thin quickly. Skinner represents workplace toxicity and abusive management, which makes him realistic but not enjoyable to watch. Unlike other Pixar villains who have depth or memorable qualities, Skinner is simply an angry little man who yells for 90 minutes. His defeat brings relief, not because justice is served, but because audiences no longer have to hear him shriek. Lotsa Huggin Bear. Lotsa Huggin Bear, known as Lotso from Toy Story 3, released in 2010. Lotso is a pink, strawberry-scented teddy bear who runs Sunnyside Daycare with an iron paw, ensuring new toys suffer abuse from the youngest children, while he and his crew enjoy the older kids' gentle play. Lotso's backstory reveals he was accidentally replaced by his owner Daisy after being lost on a family trip. Unable to process this abandonment, Lotso became bitter and cruel, developing a philosophy that all toys are trash, waiting to be thrown away. What makes Lotso particularly despised is his manipulative nature. He presents himself as warm and welcoming, using his soft appearance and gentle southern accent to deceive Woody and the gang. Once they're trapped at Sunnyside, Lotso reveals his true nature as a prison warden running a toy dictatorship. He punishes dissent brutally, as shown when he had Big Baby throw away other toys who questioned his authority. Lotso's betrayal of Woody during the incinerator scene is his most unforgivable act. When Woody and his friends are heading towards certain destruction and actively save Lotso from the same fate, Lotso abandons them without hesitation. He had a clear opportunity for redemption, but chose cruelty instead. This wasn't a villain acting on misguided principles or lacking understanding of consequences. Lotso deliberately left toys who had just saved him to die horribly. The character represents the darkest version of what a toy can become, someone so damaged by abandonment that they become an abuser themselves. Parents and children alike found Lotso genuinely disturbing, not just as a villain, but as a corruption of something meant to represent comfort and safety. A teddy bear is supposed to be the ultimate symbol of childhood security, and Lotso perverts that completely. If you enjoyed this video, subscribe so you catch every upload. Thanks for watching.